going on, and now we're getting a little bit of a preview as to the compositions teams might be running, Dryad.
Yeah, we're already getting a sneak peek of what's going to happen for the Marist College. They're going to be possibly playing the Orisa and Roadhog. A little bit unusual on this map, especially on the current meta, but definitely a possibility for this team. We already talked about how confident they always seemed, and last time that we saw that they were spawn camping the enemy. So, on the other hand, for St. Peter's, they're just playing that standard dive style composition and going off from what we've seen so far. That's going to enable them to create a space to dominate the space that they want to going against Marist College.
We do see Taze lining up with that Winston, perhaps the most appropriate name for a chimp with a giant electro cannon. Now, as we look ahead, we see that Reaper Ricardo try to really be that displacer onto the high ground, making Marist kind of have to be on their toes here. They don't want to let their tanks get too close. Emerald, however, getting too close to Rez, and then following up onto Ricardo. Now it's going to be St. Peter's who can really lead into this fight. Going to be taking the first fight win, although Emerald does drop on the exit.
Yeah, that was a really cool anthem, but the fight is now over once again, creating a lot of space, ideally what they want to do for the Marist College. And we do see them creating the space necessary. They do get that 4% already, and just creating as much damage as possible to get the percentage that they need. On the other hand, St. Peter's does have to regroup really quickly.
They are going to be going for the regroup. We see Rez try to throw in some hooks, get some benefit. The flashbang goes out, hits Harmonics. Going to be taking down that Sombra, not able to build up the EMP, which might have been so crucial in this fight. Now, like St. Peter's might be leaning in just a little bit here as Marist continues to push up. We do see the Coalescence coming out. Vocal burning down with that Coalescence, keeping their team healed up, really helping them stabilize.
Not only that, but the damage that comes through for the Moria on those 3 eliminations that she's able to get. A really good job so far from the Marist College. They are creating a lot of space. They're going to be having the AMP almost ready. This composition is really benefiting them, knowing that they are simply killing the enemy team and then going again, taking this high ground advantage. The only thing that for St. Peter is going for them is maybe the high noon, but usually it's not hard to get any picks with it.
Let's see if Nachos will be able to find a purchase with it. We see now St. Peter's look like they want to go through the building, but they do have to be careful once again for Emerald to just not drop down on him. Harmonics tries to go for an EMP, it seems, but gets stunned out. Excellent awareness coming from St. Peter's, but not quite enough as the kills still coming through for the side of Marist. We see Rez tucked in right onto point. It will be the Sombra who gets the EMP out, but that can only do so much. 3 get hacked out. And then looks like St. Peter's now going to start dropping like flies as Marist start ticking upwards towards that 80%.
Really good EMP, gets 3 from the side of St. Peter's, and just like that, 80%, like you mentioned, looking really good for the Marist College. That was the only ultimate ability that they had to use to win the fight, and once again, showing the dominance that they have in this team. Now they're going to be having a Death Blossom. By the point that St. Peter's comes on the point, it's going to be way too late for them to try to make something happen.
Ricardo trying to use that Soldier 76 to get some wraparound. Can't quite find it though. Gets pushed up on by Emerald. Emerald able to get the kills. Turns now onto the second DPS. Nachos taken down. Marist now look like they have this just about wrapped up. The sound barrier for good measure as overtime ticks down. Lighthouse here.
So many ultimate abilities that didn't even have to be used at the end. We do see that Premier Wage, that self-destruct, that sound barrier coming through at the end for Marist College, just because they just had the opportunity to save them. Those weren't even abilities that they had to use to win the fight, and it was a lot of just not having that coordination for the side of St. Peter's that made that happen, where they were coming out of spawn, getting killed, and having to regroup again. And at that point, we never really saw a regroup happening. But here in the world, they still have another opportunity to make a few changes, a few adaptations if they want to play another composition. Definitely was not something that was benefiting them, and not having the speed that Marist College had is something that you definitely need to be on the lookout for. But from what we see so far, they're still committing to the Orisa and Roadhog again. A teleporter to have a little bit more speed though.
And both teams going to be relying on that Orisa and Hog, but that is where the similarities will end for these teams' DPS and support lineups. Looking wildly different coming through. It's going to be Marist getting an early setup, and because of that, an early Dynamite coming in from Harmonics. A lot of St. Peter's now having to break that line of sight as there is a ton of pressure being put in. A few of St. Peter's decide to poke their heads out and get absolutely punished for it. Emerald now creeping around in those backlines, trying to just deal that consistent damage as the Tracer. The Reaper left all alone by himself, Nachos taken down eventually, and that will be Marist getting first flip.
Just doing everything that was possible to try to stay alive, but unfortunately for him, the rest of his team was down and it was just too late. But luckily, that was a quick regroup. They have the opportunity to go again to make something happen. And because of that, we're not going to be seeing the Reaper anymore, but in Echoes, to having that mobility, having that being able to go in the air, which should give St. Peter's a little bit of an advantage here coming with Marist College.
See if St. Peter's can lean into that. Nachos gonna have to be a little bit careful going up against that Ash. Harmonix might have their number if they give them too many openings. Harmonix, again, with the dynamite coming through, doesn't combo it with the Hulk, but the hook just gonna be taking Juice Ring out of the fight early on. A great opening here, and Marist continuing to push forward with their advantage. Oh, now taking down Ricardo as we see Harmonix trying to play around this well. A dangerous gambit for an Ash unless you're really cracked with that coach gun. Emerald gonna be continuing to deal the damage in the backline, putting down just that consistent threat.
A really good job once again from the side of Marist College, and just like that, they're able to clean up the fight again. I really like the composition that we're seeing from them. That's Zenyatta also putting a lot of damage, more pressure for the side of St. Peter's, where they haven't even been able to build that coalescence that they need so bad to be able to push forward. G-String also, on the other hand, doesn't really have that ultimate ability. Not having this is going to affect them the longer that they go, and it seems like they realize that now we're going to be seeing a little bit of that Reinhardt being played.
Reinhardt will come out, be a little bit better at blocking those hooks coming in from face miss, but still gonna have to be very careful. Doesn't have the long range distance that perhaps an Orisa would. Nachos ready with that duplicate. Who will they opt into? Gonna have to be coming close to the last fight territory, so might need to use that with some sort of diligence. But Sellout Squad actually gonna be taken down early on. That Moira not able to heal their team is gonna be a big hurt to St. Peter's. As now, Turbocharger is going to be coming out from Marist, allowing Face Miss to lean in a little bit more, deal a little bit heavier damage. Natos decides to go for the Roadhog, takes a breather, almost builds up Whole Hog instantly. Does get the hook combo in, and eventually will be pulling out the Whole Hog, but nobody's able to touch from the side of St. Peter's, too busy fighting underneath the windmill. Because of that, Marist are going to take well.
No one is able to touch at the end, and just like that, Marist College gets this first map very quickly. A really good job done from them. The damage always coming through, and everyone working together is what benefits this team so much. This is a team that's known not only in the collegiate scene, but also more of a national move level. When people talk about collegiate esports, when they talk about really good teams and really good students that are good at Overwatch, you're definitely going to mention this university, and it's definitely for a reason.
Yeah, Marist definitely coming up to chalk there. St. Peter's definitely looking a little bit shaky so far. They're on wobbly legs to start off with, but Dryad, if you're a fan of St. Peter's, you can rest a little bit knowing that it's not quite over. You do have the opportunity here. And, you know, sometimes all you need to break the opponent's momentum is to just win one map. St. Peter's can take one map here from Marist. Marist, I don't think, has dropped a map yet throughout this series. So it's a definite going to make Marist kind of second guess themselves a little bit. And you know, who knows what can happen with if St. Peter's is able to do that.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility from them, and also to take into account that this was a map that worked perfectly in the hands of Marist College. But if St. Peter's has studied a little bit more of what Marist has been playing before, he can really come up to a map that makes them a little bit more comfortable to maybe doesn't really play to their strengths, because for Marist, every time that we've been able to see them, they like forcing the dive stall composition a lot, and it really benefits them just because they know how to play, they know how to work together. So if you force them out a little bit of that composition, making them maybe play a little bit more of a brawl could be very beneficial for St. Peter's.
Now, you bring up the concept of switching out of compositions here, and I want to ask you this time about St. Peter's. Do you think that they're switching up their compositions too much, or do you think that they're doing what they need to find the right mix?
They are definitely making the changes necessary, but they are, even when they're making the changes needed, the problem doesn't really rely on that, but more on the fact that they're not really working together to try to engage. When we saw the coalescence happening, it didn't really get the value. You want to use the coalescence to initiate the fights, and we saw it halfway through the fight when it was unfortunately just way too late for them to try to make something happen. So working together, making sure that your initiations are working out is the main thing that they have to work on, because they are making the changes, but they're not getting any value out of them.
Well, who would have known that teamwork is great in a team-based game, Dryad? Now, however, we are just about ready to crack onto our second map here. What a lovely day it is in Numbani.
Yeah, Numbani is always a really pretty map. There's a lot of debate on if the map is actually good for players. I mean, many of them don't really like it, but when you look at it just the same way as anyone would look at Paris as a map, You think, oh, it's a really pretty map, but the moment they have to play is when you might struggle a little bit more to enjoy it. But overall, here you are able to play a lot of different compositions as well. So I'm very curious to see what they have to bring. We're already getting a little bit of a hint of what both teams are going to bring to the table, and especially a big difference where on the defense they're going to be having that brawl style. That means that for the side of St. Peter's, they need to make the initiations first to get value out of this composition. They need to have a little closure with Marist College, and when they're playing the dive, it might be a little bit more challenging for them.
Certainly going to be challenging with Nachos on that Torbjorn. Torbjorn kind of famed as one of those heroes that are significantly harder to dive just because of his armor, his ability to throw out some big shotgun blasts. However, Marist trying their best to go through the bottom route, trying to take some high ground immediately. The turret is dealt with by Harmonix. So far, St. Peter's just waiting their time out to know that Marist is probably going to go out of that high ground. We see Rez trying to hold up there, but St. Peter's has had enough time to get their turret back online and ready into the fight. And it's going to be Rez a little bit distracted, almost causes their shield to get hacked out. However, they are able to stabilize and return back into this fight. But the damage already been done by Marist, who's really heavily leaning into this fight. It's now going to be Emerald onto the point, blasting away at that Zarya. The high damage just cannot be contested. A last moment turret thrown up, as quickly dealt with.
Just like that, Marist College is once again going to be able to take control of the situation. Natchez was able to get a 1 kill, but it wasn't quite enough. And, well, for Cesar Ricardo, he's about to have the tactical visor, which would be ideal situation for them to create space. You don't want the payload to push past this bus, past this corner. And if you use a tactical visor, make sure you're staying alive and behind the shield of your Reinhardt. That would be a really good option for them to take the space that they need to delay this push a little bit more.
And St. Peter's University going to be sending Harmonix into the backline, hacking out that Reinhardt. Rez has to back out, and they can't defend the rest of their team, who off the back of that one hack, now Marist able to really lean into this. The coalescence comes through. Not sure it was necessary, but Marist is probably going to get it back quick enough.
Yeah, it seems like they're just walking forward, and just like that, they're winning the fight over and over again. Once again, the ultimate economy looking really, really good for Ricardo. He decided to save his tactical visor, so it needs to be big now. This is the last opportunity that they have for the recontest to happen, but Marist College taking a lot of space. That EMP is going to come through, possibly with the Death Blossom as well, and that's all they need to take the point. They have a lot of time remaining, 4 minutes, 20 seconds for them.
We already see Harmonix lining up, getting right behind that tank, but the dislocation of St. Peter's will save 3 of them from getting hacked, but not the other 3 as the kills now come in. Emerald able to get 2 with that Death Blossom, and this was all just to get that second tick for Marist, but they're going to be pretty happy about it so far. Nachos does take down 2, but that's merely a consolation prize at this rate.
Quite a lot of ultimate abilities that were used for Sarah Marist College, but once again, they have a lot of confidence. They have a lot of time remaining as well. So if they want to take one fight and lose it and then win again to build the ultimate abilities, that might just be enough. They're taking their rotation. They're playing this very carefully. They don't want to take any damage from the side of St. Peter's University.
St. Peter's going to be trying to throw out some damage with that Molten Core going live. We do see Nachos pop the overload, but Rez, once again hacked, has no choice but to just swing the hammer and try to back up an uncomfortable position for the Reinhardt, but Harmonix able to find it. Now the Diva Bomb going in with no shielding. Sellout Squad will drop. Rez manages to come through onto Rez, so a big health pool. The Earth Shatter comes through, doesn't really land onto anything. St. Peter's not optimizing that ability as much as they would really like to here. Now it's going to be Ohm on the Lucio, looking to get some kills as well, but at this rate, it's all just cleanup for Marist.
Second time that we see this happening from the side of Ohm, but before us and Yara, now is Lucio. This player definitely showing a big hero pool where he's able to play anything and to also get a lot of value out of him. Just like that, Marist is able to get that 3rd point here in Nimbani with a lot of time remaining, 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining for them. And St. Peter University is definitely struggling on this defense. I want to see them being a little bit stronger on the attack, but it's not going to be easy. Even when they are getting a few picks, especially from the side of Natchez, when he's able to make something happen, the team's not really capitalizing out of this, so it's really affecting them. It was a lot of combination, like we see right now with that EMP, with that Death Blossom that's enabling Marist to do whatever they want to take as much space as needed for them to win, and it's working perfectly for this team.
Yeah, definitely have to give some big props out to Harmonix, getting some good hacks on the Sombra. A lot of times we talk about the tanks buying space, but it felt like Whenever Rez got hacked out or was unable to use their shields because they weren't able to keep their head on a perfect pivot, it just caused St. Peter's University to flow right back towards their spawn, which is never a spot you want to be in if you're on the defending side.
Yeah, the ultimate economy for Sarmeris is always looking good. They can get away with only using 1 or 2, and even when they overcommit, like we saw them also using that primary rate, they were still able to get a lot of value out of that. And it was also the coalescence where we talk about the coalescence being used for the initiation, but for this team, they actually decided to use it mid-fight, and it was more to keep the team alive until the last fight territory that they were in. There was a really, really good job from the supports once again from this team. Baku doing really good as well, like we talked on the loser, giving them the speed that they need. And St. Peter's just needs to figure something out here. It seems like they're going to be taking this low ground, playing this very, very carefully.
Meanwhile, Marist already scouting them out. The double snipers coming through Emerald and Harmonics are going to be looking for those openings. The question is, will St. Peter's give it to them? St. Peter's going to take the wise option to go directly onto point. That means the snipers not going to be able to contest the point as much as they might like, but Emerald just still going to get the kills from on high with the Hanzo. The Harmonics trying to rain into the Reinhardt, into the Mercy. Now switching their focus onto the Echo, but Taze going to be taking that kill from him. Marist still whole.
And so far from what we've seen from these two teams, the only time where St. Peter University has been able to get kills is under Natchez, where he's able to get 1 and then gets taken down immediately. So it just seems at this point like St. Peter's has to work around this player, make something happen with the Echo, with a Pharah maybe if they want to bring it to the table. And actually, this is a really good start for them. We do see Harmonics getting taken down right away.
It doesn't look like the rest is gonna be there from the Mercy either. Ricardo getting dangerously low, literally 2 HP there. Has to roll out, uses the flashbang just to buy a bit of space. But now St. Peter's are trying to utilize the early picks, but they just can't quite do it. Emerald once again getting some opening kills with Hanzo, or some following kills with Hanzo. Peeking down 2, but it's still gonna be Marist who comes out a little bit more dominant in the kill feed.
Yeah, and we're in a position where I just want to see something else coming from St. Peter's. It seems like sometimes it's going to work, but right now they're just dying over and over again. They're not able to build their ultimate abilities, and that's just going to affect them. They still have a lot of time remaining, 2 minutes, 10 seconds for them, but they have to build that ultimate economy if they want to be able to take this point. Arrow is the one that's getting the kills over and over again. He's going to use that dragon.
A dangerous spot for St. Peter's to be in. Rez has to push forward because of that, easily cleaned up. Now with nobody to be the bulwark, Marist is now just going to lean in, face miss, helping their team to get these kills. Tae's going to be taking a little bit of a nap, but that just allows them to get healed as St. Peter's has to take the back foot.
And the biggest win condition for St. Peter's now is just going to be that duplicate, and it has to get some value. It's not going to be easy, but transforming into ideally one of the tanks could create the space that the team needs so bad. They're not able to push anywhere where they want to just because Marist is so good at taking space necessary on this composition. They're able to dive when one of the players is in trouble, and they keep doing so over and over again.
You can never turn your backs to Emerald, a dangerous spot to be in. Emerald already 72% to those next dragons. Maybe Rez, as we see on that Reinhardt, taking quite a bit of damage, gets healed up by Sell Out Squad. Not so much Min Min, however. The Dynamite from on top, Nachos, does deal with Emerald, but the Winston Leap bubbling behind Noon Tae's actually mitigating a lot of damage there. Now St. Peter's are trying to throw in anything they can. Nachos receives the nano boost onto the duplicate. Not quite throwing in the primal rage just yet. Throws it in 3 seconds before the expiration of that duplicate. Is going to be the Zenyatta. Focused down by the cluster bomb. St. Peter's might have a little bit of life in here, but they still have to deal with Emerald, who just absolutely delivers. And now it's just 40 seconds left.
Now just doing everything that he can to make something happen, but it's just not enough. He's able to get 2 picks, but the rest also come through, and he's not able to get anything that he wants to be done. St. Peter still has the tank ultimate abilities though, so this is the last opportunity that they have, last fight territory for them. If they want to start pushing the payload, they need to get the control of the point first, and it's not going to be easy once Bob from Harmonics is thrown into point.
That Bob will buy a lot of time. The Dragon's also going to be causing a lot of diversion here. We see Emerald throwing out those dragons, dividing the team already, taking down the McCree and the Ana, not able to get separated from those dragons far enough. Grab does go out, but face miss, making sure that Diva Bomb ensures nobody can capitalize upon it. Now it's all Marist to just let that overtime clock tick down, and they got a second point on the board.
2 points for Marist College. This is match point. St. Peter's University has to make something happen now if they don't want to lose yet. They're not looking great so far just because the initiations are lacking a lot of that team effort that Marist is so good at. And once again, the highlight that we have to talk about is Emerald on the Hansel, also Harmonics on the Ash, always able to get a few picks, poking a lot of damage to the enemy team and taking control of the situation. When we talk about double snipers, we always mention how good they are at controlling space, and this is exactly what Marist College did to take the advantage here in Umbani, where for St. Peter's they weren't even able to push the payload ideally what they wanted to if they wanted to have another opportunity here.
And speaking of one more opportunity, it's going to be St. Peter's University last chance saloon here, as it's going to be the third map. Again, Marist College in that win condition. But before we go on to that, we will be taking a short little break. So stay tuned, folks. Find out the conclusion of this match.
Would you say it now? Wouldn't you still say yes if I asked nicely enough? Would you go and just make the same mistakes? I tried listening, but all I got were excuses and a silence from you. I hope you know you won't get another take. Why'd you bother coming
Back as quick as you like, folks. We are heading now on to Volskaya. It's going to be Marist leading up 2-0 over their opponents in St. Peter's University. And Dryad, we've just been seeing Marist looking fairly dominant over this matchup so far.
Looking really good, but the biggest challenge for them is going to be here in Volskaya. They need to get that 3-0 again. They need to keep that consistency. They don't want to drop any map. And this is the last opportunity that they have to do so. Marist College is doing really good so far, like you mentioned. It seems like even when they play a few different compositions, a few different heroes, they still manage to take control of the situation over and over again just by being the first ones to get those kills. And even when St. Peter is able to get a few, they don't let that be a sign for them to push back. They still play aggressive and force everyone from the enemy team to play a little bit more careful. And they just keep getting picked over and over again. So hopefully we can see a few changes coming for the St. Peter's on the defense. But it seems like a teleport is what's going to happen here. And Volskaya, first point, one of the strategies that we know so well.
Marist's going to be looking to opt into that high ground right off the bat, but they don't take Emerald with them. Emerald careful on that flank with the Hanzo. It's gonna have to be on the St. Peter's to recognize that opening, and Emerald finds one. Can they find more? The Brig trying to close, but the shield bash just short. With this now, Emerald already having done the damage. A couple shots in the mid-minute as well, taking them down. Emerald with the wraparound absolutely comes in vital there.
Mara getting those kills, getting those headshots over and over again, and just like that, they will be taking control of first. And a lot of time remaining, only one fight was necessary. No one from the side of Marist College was taken down, but for St. Peter's, everyone was forced to back half, to play a little bit slow. The worst part for this defense is that they have no ultimate abilities coming up to use it defensively. The best opportunity they have is using that break and try to delay everyone, overwhelming them with this hero, but it's not going to be easy for them.
We already see Harmonics once again ferrying their team very close to point. It's going to be the Proton Wall coming out, trying to just buy a bunch of space, effectively splitting the battlefield in half. Nacho's trying to do some damage to Emerald, knowing that Emerald is a very powerful component of this composition. However, not quick enough to deal with the dragons flying in from the left side of the building. Now just gonna be Nachos and Rez trying to hold on, but their health pool's both very low. Immediately getting cleaned up as soon as the shield drops is Rez Juice Ring. Not long for this world either. Marist already ticking up with some point progress. Nachos still in the sky, not been dealt with too immediately. However, Coalescence comes through. That might change on its head here. Marist starting to tick up. They do achieve that second tick, as now it's going to be a last moment contest coming through from St. Peter's. Rez goes in for the Earthshatter, takes down Harmonics, but there's no follow-up there. It's just the Diva and Juice Ring not able to put down the damage that are absolutely needed as well. Seeing more turrets get set up by Harmonics, just going to make the entry for St. Peter's all that more difficult. Emerald getting 2 more kills to help sure up at this point, and that is surely going to be it for Marist.
4 minutes 54 for Marist College. They were able to take control of the situation. They were struggling a little bit though, just because St. Peter's was forcing and using everything that they could to stay on point. But at that stage, it was just way too late for them to try to do anything. The only ultimate ability that we saw St. Peter University use was the Shatter coming from Rez, and that wasn't enough because we know the Shatter needs the rest of the team to capitalize out of this. And since they were getting taken down over and over again, it was really hard for them to do so. But Marist College, as always, is looking really good. Emerald on that hand. So one of the heroes that we don't see quite often in the meta when we look at other sides of Overwatch, but here in Collegiate, one of the most popular picks. Once you feel the confidence, once you have the one-shot potential, and you have such a good team like Marist College, you know you're going to be able to capitalize out of this. Now, I'm very curious because it seems like Emerald is going to be playing the Widowmaker, so that double sniper that we were talking about, how good it is at creating space, we will be seeing it being played once again.
It makes a little bit of sense here for Marist. We saw St. Peter's. They didn't really go on to those dive tanks on Numbani, where sometimes, you know, it's a little bit more dive inclined. So if they're not going to deal with the sniper, the double snipers with a dive on Numbani, they might not even be so, they'll be even less inclined to do that here on Volskaya. A wise choice here. We'll see how St. Peter's copes as these doors are right about to open. However, St. Peter's now going to be coming out of their spawn. We see Harmonics on this right side high, just trying to maintain those lines of sight. Immediately locking onto Nachos, and a little bit of a duel. The locking of horns goes through, as now Emerald trying to find the shots, not quite finding it too many. However, Emerald still working with that lowered health pool because of those Widow changes recently. Gets a shot onto Rez, and the healing not immediately there from St. Peter's University, but eventually is able to get their team healed up and back to full. Now see St. Peter's taking this very slow rotation up through the high, but Emerald able to find Nachos, making a second with Sellout Squad going down next. Emerald continuing to try to find advantage here, and with both the supports, or rather the support and DPS taken down, it looks like Marist already have a dominant spot in this fight, Dryad.
They keep getting taken down, and you need, once again, the entire team to be able to win here. That positioning from Marist College is what's benefiting them so much. And even if St. Peter's is to go with a dive style composition, which it seems like they're going to do that right now, they have to deal with the Sigma on the off angle, along with the Ashe, with the Mercy, and with the Widowmaker. So it's going to be a big challenge for them to make it past this. This is really good step. If you're able to force Marist off the high ground, this is all you need to try to take control of the situation, especially with the composition that we see from the side of St. Peter's, where you need everyone to go down for you to get more value out of that Reaper that we see on this field.
I was critiquing St. Peter's a little bit earlier, but they have successfully switched onto those Divier tanks, Juice Ring, and Rez. Might try to seek out those weak opportunities in Emerald, in Harmonics. The question is, can they achieve it? Winston goes in, but Juice Ring lands a little bit short, and Rez actually getting demeched as well. So not a lot of threat onto this high ground. Now Marist able to just rain down shots for free. Not just getting taken down means that those snipers get to feel a little bit more loose from the side of Marist, as we see now members of St. Peter's getting picked apart. Bob even getting thrown onto the field just as a little added benefit, and Santos taking the time to line up that shot. Tay's going for a pin, but actually Juice Ring gets killed beforehand, and St. Peter's coming very close to taking this point, but not quite able to find it as Harmonics the last round.
That was the best opportunity that we've seen from the side of St. Peter's. They were looking so good. They were finally able to get a few picks, but unfortunately for them, it wasn't enough. They weren't really able to capitalize out of this, and it was all thanks to Harmonics from the side of Marist College. He was able to get 3 picks at the end, throwing that Bob into point, waiting for the rest of his team to arrive. But now St. Peter's is hungry. They know they have an opportunity here.
They are, we're back going to be seeing some compositional swaps coming in from Marist Emerald on the Tracer just to try to get in a little bit faster, but it looks like it's going to serve them well either way. Ricardo, the only one to get kills for St. Peter's. Perez will come through from Marist as they drive back the rest of the attacking team.
And it's going to be about 1 minute remaining by the time they're able to try to have one more fight going. This means this could be last fight territory depending on how long they decide to take. Even right the second they start losing a few members, they have to back up and wait for them if they want to have another opportunity. No ultimate abilities, maybe that Primal Rage is what they need to push everyone off, and then with that Death Blossom, that would be the winning condition that St. Peter needs so bad, but it's not going to be easy to win against Marist College.
And St. Peter's gonna have to be very careful of Emerald's Pulse Bomb here. Can do a lot of damage, especially to that support line. We'll see if it goes into effect here. See Emerald kind of dancing around the idea, perhaps trying to find that opening. Runs face first into Ricardo, but the Tracer typically going to be able to get away. You see Harmonics getting dove by the tank line of St. Peter's, but gets caught by Marist in the Gravitic Flux. Although damage being done by St. Peter's, it's 2 taken down by Ricardo, and that might just give them the opening as well. Bob on the point, allowing quite a bit of progress to be ticked up on that A point. The Pulse Bomb goes out a bit too late, doesn't sink onto too much, but Ricardo sure to clean up Emerald and send them home.
And then in the last second, St. Peter is able to take control of the point. And for a second, I expected Marist College to try to see something happen, to try to have that recontest, but they know it's not going to be benefiting them. And they want to keep their ultimate abilities for the second fight that is going to happen. They still half of the time this Marist College had into their attacks, so definitely looking more beneficial to their side when Bob is going to be ready to be thrown into point the minute the St. Peter decides to dive them.
See exactly how St. Peter's opts into this. Harmonics taking a lot of damage and not just being sure to clean it up. That's got to be the opening here for St. Peter's. Dynamite leaning in, trying to put just some damage on that Reinhardt shield. All taken down now, no immortality field. The tanks are gonna have to be very careful here as they can't get bailed out immediately by that Baptiste. St. Peter's still trying to put down some sort of damage, but it doesn't look like these kills are coming through quite as fast as they need them to. It's actually a disconnection on the side of Marist College. Not sure if this is going to cause a pause through the game, but St. Peter's now has the opening here either way. It's going to be Bob on the point. Eventually does flee, and now St. Peter's starts taking up some progress, Ryad.
They will be taking control of the point once again, and they are able to get one tick though, so ideal situation for the side of St. Peter University, but they still have a lot to do. That disconnection might definitely affect Marist College. We'll have to wait to see what happens to them, but they're getting taken down. Harmonics doing everything she can to stay alive. Seems like it's going to be too late.
Certainly it will. Harmonics does take out the Mercy, so no res, but the res doesn't matter when everybody else is already there. And with that, St. Peter's not quite out of this fight just yet.
Score 2-2.
Yeah, it seems like there's going to be a pause while they fix that issue of the disconnection from the start of Marist. And that definitely cost them that second point. They didn't want to let it go. But actually, it was a really good job at the beginning by Natchez. He was able to get 2 picks, one of them being one of the supports. And that was going to enable the team to push forward. And there's still another chance for both of these teams. But like we mentioned, Marist College has a lot of time remaining. 4 minutes should be enough to take first and second in halftime remaining.
It's definitely looking very good for Marist. St. Peter's were able to come back and get that second point, but to the credit of Marist, how much of that is because Taze was taken out of the game for a brief moment. It's a lot harder to hold that second point when you don't have a main tank.
Not having a main tank definitely is one of the worst situations in Overwatch. You want to have that protection, even when we don't have a shield, especially. You want to have at least a Roadhog that can serve as a main tank, creating the space necessary for your DPS, for your supports to be able to stay alive a little bit longer and to take the space that you need to win the fight, ideally. That's what you want to do over and over again. But definitely we have to see St. Peter's, though. They were able to look really good into those last two fights. They were able to win. And once again, it just was all thanks to Natchez doing really good on the Ash. If we're going to have another map happen between these two teams, I want to keep seeing this performance from the player.
And we will be getting this disconnection issue resolved here, folks, but it will require us to go into a little bit of a break. Never mind, I'm getting a word that Taze is actually reconnected as I said that. So this time it was the player's turn to literally caster curse the caster. That's okay. I'll accept it. Taze, you played me. Well done. But we are going to be hopping back into the game here in just a little moment, Dryad.
Yeah, we'll be going back into the game, and like we mentioned, so we had both of the teams being able to control Ovoskaya, now going to third and fourth round with the biggest advantage for the South Marist College. From one, it seems they want to play the same composition that we saw them play on the defense. It's just so good for them to take advantage of this, having that off angle. Oh, having that protection from Sigma with the shield, and then having your snipers to do the job while also making sure they're not going to get taken down by Natchez from St. Peter's University. So I want to keep seeing this from them, really good performance. But it seems like they're also going to be playing this Wrecking Ball. So a lot of a variety that we've seen from these two teams. Overall, Marist College being the one who's able to get more skills.
Let's see, as Marist now going to be lining up on that defense. As you mentioned, Taze on that Wrecking Ball. I don't believe we've seen the Wrecking Ball come out quite yet today, so an interesting little mix-up to, I guess, perhaps close our second match of the day. But more importantly, as we look ahead, again, the double snipers coming out on the Zenyatta as well.
Zenyatta is really, really good on this map, actually, and if we're going to be seeing a team pulling it off, it has to be Marist College. Has already gotten a few picks when we saw him playing Zenyatta and Ilias. He was having a really good performance, being able to put the Discord orb into the enemy team, and in the rest of the team, the DPS being able to capitalize to put more damage. So really good positioning as well. Amaro playing a little bit more distant, just making sure that he's able to stay alive. And on the other hand, you're going to be having that off angle that we were talking about. So really, really good job as well from the supports, keeping him up, but also creating more space ideally while you want to have in the defense.
And we already see Ricardo tucking into that Sigma, really putting that damage down now, trying to turn their attention to the Wrecking Ball, however, can't quite find it. St. Peter's do lose the mech from Rez, though. Mercy barely able to get away, chased down by Juice Ring, and now St. Peter's starting to tick up towards that second point. The dive coming in from Juice Ring, some great coordination onto Emerald. Taze is going to be the last member to be able to touch for the side of Marist. The question is, when will they do it? The answer is now, but quickly backing up.
It might be another touch going on for this Wrecking Ball, but I don't know if anyone else from Southern Marist is going to be able to touch. Just like that, St. Peter's is going to take control of the first point, and they're looking so much better to dive, looking better than the other compositions that we've seen them run, just because they were able to work together to take that high ground advantage that they needed so bad. They still have 50 seconds remaining, though, so last fight territory for them. They all need to make sure they're staying alive, that none of the side of Marist College is trying to take them down, and it's benefiting them that the composition doesn't have any snipers.
But St. Peter's composition not having any Diva mechs either. Rez now taken officially out of the fight as Emerald closing the gap. And this is a very rough spot for St. Peter's. They need to back up and minimize their losses as quickly as possible to get another push in.
But the kills now are coming for the Southern Marist College. They don't want to give them another opportunity, and it's 15 seconds remaining for the side of St. Peter's to make something happen. The main concern here is trying to get to point in time is going to be that coalescence to initiate the biggest opportunity that they're going to have, that they're able to throw Bob into point. They still have a chance, but Marist College is really good at taking space, at delaying everyone else.
And Taze in the backline trying to just be a disruption towards this Ashe. Nachos taking quite a bit of damage, but eventually gets healed out. Cello Squad throwing in the Coalescence, which is good because there is no Min to keep the team alive. Marist, however, coming clean with most of the kills. Face Miss does get taken down, but it doesn't look like they're going to be missing them too much. as the minefields go out onto point, making it so much more threatening for the entirety of St. Peter's to get on there and get nestled up nice and cozy. It looks like Marist so close to just cleaning up the last few remaining members. It's the Diva, it's the Reaper. The Mercy manages to get a res off, but Ricardo can only do so much. Gonna try to throw the Death Blossom, but it's gonna be the projected barrier from Face Mist preventing a lot of that damage.
And it was the overtime, but absolutely nothing that St. Peter's University could have done there. It was a really tough spot for them, knowing that Marist College wasn't letting them that wrecking ball, creating space in the back lane, trying to get a few picks as well. And those initial kills are what benefit this team so much. We talk about it over and over again. But to be honest, I'm very surprised that we saw Harmonix playing that Sombra. He wasn't really able to build that EMP that we expected, and not really going for the comfort picks that we see this team play before. The Ashe, the Hanzo, the Widowmaker into second point just meant that they were a little bit concerned for St. Peter's getting value into the dive style composition, just because you know that Nachos is going to be able to take you down, maybe just with the headshot happening, maybe twice, and that should be enough for St. Peter University to get that confidence going for them. So Marist didn't want to risk it. They wanted to play more of this brawl style composition that did benefit them at the end, but didn't get as much value as they wanted to. Those hacks didn't come through as often, and like we mentioned, that EMP didn't really ever come through.
No EMP quite in effect there that time around, but it looks like Marist is lining up with Harmonix on the Sombra again, so we might see it the second time around. 5 minutes on the clock for Marist to capture that first, as now these gates are opening up. Marist going to be pushing into a Reaper May composition here, so a lot of close quarters fighting can be happening between these two teams. We'll see if St. Peter's can capitalize on that potential advantage. See Marist wrapping around that left side, looking to push up into the high ground. It is Ricardo who's already trying to throw in some damage on that Reaper, and Tay's brought dangerously low. Not just playing from a long ways away makes those May walls a little bit harder to line up. Marist pretty aware of this, and now just waiting in the back, waiting for their team to recollect themselves. Marist suffering some early losses. This is going to be a tough spot for them to recover from, as now they pretty much just have to get back, retreat, and try not to suffer any more death.
No DPS for the Sour Marist College, like you mentioned, forces them to go back to play it a little bit slower until everyone is able to come back and be ready to attack. But that actually did force St. Peter off the high ground, so they're going to be taking a few extra seconds to go back and to take control of it again. Only that Diva is going to be able to get there alone with Winston, but that doesn't seem like it's going to be enough for the damage that Marist College is putting into them.
And now Marist has successfully taken that high ground, dropping directly onto point, but the main wall coming out going to be preventing Face Mist from throwing out too much damage. The grab goes in, however. Diva not quite able to eat it. Juice Ring is taken down. Nachos trying to buy a little bit of space with the Blizzard, freezes the right heart, but it's Face Mist who's actually able to give a projected barrier onto them, saving them for the time being. Marist suffers one loss in Emerald. Diva Bomb going high, not finding anything. Now St. Peter's clinging on to the last few remaining members they have. Min soon to fall with Rez and Nachos. As Rez gets demech pushed away, it's going to be Marist starting to pick up that progress.
And that was actually a longer fight than we expected for St. Marist College. And the reason why we were saying this was the biggest challenge that they would have. Volskaya Industries is a map where you can play a lot of different compositions and they all counter each other. That's exactly what St. Peter's was doing, and was doing a really good job. Natchez with those walls coming through and delaying and separating the side of Marist College. But that EMP for the side of Harmonix is going to be ready, and they want to take control of this. Only one tick is needed.
Harmonix throws it in, the Earth Shatter to follow up, and with that, everybody from St. Peter's starts to fold like a house of cards. Emerald throwing in the Death Blossom, as does Ricardo, but Ricardo not able to find as much benefit for it. With that, Marist takes the one tick they need to come out victorious over St. Peter's.
And a 3-0 once again for Marist College. St. Peter definitely did try their best, especially at the end here in Volskaya, but it wasn't quite enough. Really, really good job from the Sour Marist. Always taking the advantage, always knowing their winning condition. And that is what differentiates this team compared to everyone else. When you look at the table, when you look at the positioning that everyone is having, they're always the best for this season. They're able to be very flexible to play any composition that they want, and also have that synergy going for them that's so important in Overwatch.
That synergy definitely proving them very strong on the side of Marist. As we can see, their win streak pretty much goes uncontested, with St. Peter's now their latest victims to be falling to them. And a quick match here, Dryad, but that only leaves us a little bit more time to go into our interview here. And we'll be getting that set up for you folks at home in just a moment, but stick around. It will be on the other end of this break. Hello and welcome back, Overwatch fans. After our conclusion of Marist versus St. Peter's, the 3-0 victory going over to Marist, we are now sitting in the interview booth with Harmonix, a familiar face. Hello, old friend.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Doing well. Congratulations on your victory over St. Peter's. It looked pretty breezy for you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Now, I guess the first question I have, the plays, especially from you, that stood out to me the most were on Numbani. It seemed like St. Peter's were really having difficulty coping with the Sombra play that was coming out from your team. How were you able to find those openings, I guess, in the tank line or in the entire team, really?
Yeah, so my priority there was definitely, I'd say, the Reinhardt because once the shield goes down, my team was able to push in. So I usually just went on the flank, looked for when he was distracted by my team, and then I would go for the hack. And then once that happened, my team was able to push in, and we were able to take the fight.
Yeah, and also talking a little bit about your DPS, and so we saw a little bit of the double sniper being played by your team, and then we saw that Sombra coming through. So how do you just have to change the composition? Because there's a point where St. Peter's was doing pretty good, getting a few picks by Natchez on the Ash. Was this a way to protect yourself from getting picked, or just a way to counter the strategy from them?
At first, we want to play a bit slower, and then so we went with the double sniper there. But once we saw that they were doing more of dive, we decided to adapt and play to what we're more familiar with for sure, and play what we're used to.
Yeah. So when you are making these changes with your team, is this something that you decide who really takes the initiative to? Oh, maybe we should be playing something else right now. Maybe we should play something different into second point. Who's making those calls all the time?
Um, for this game, it was definitely I'd have to shout out Face Misk for that one. Face Misk really took lead on comms today, and he was definitely a leader. So big shout out and thanks to Face Misk for making those comms and calling out those changes.
All right. And Harmonix, I know that this is pretty old hat for you. I mean, you've been in the interview booth quite a bit for your team, but before we let you go, we do like to give you the opportunity to give any shout outs, show some love to whoever you feel deserves it.
Yeah, like to shout out our coach Jack. He couldn't be here tonight. He's dealing with some stuff, but we know that he's always here in spirit. Shout out to all the Marist fans in chat, and yeah, shout out to my team for doing what they do best.
Yeah.
All right. Well, fantastic. Once again, thank you, Harmonix, for popping in here and answering a few of our questions. And congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Now, with that, Dryad, we just are about ready to conclude the St. Peter's Marist game once again. Marist going to be taking the 3-0 victory, but don't despair, folks at home. We are not quite done. We still have two more games coming up it will be UT Arlington versus Wichita State and Fairfield versus Siena. So definitely something to tune into. Make sure you guys catch it after the break.